Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
So today we're diving into English vocabulary. We've got a couple of sources you shared with us.
Yeah, that's right. One is really zeroed in on vocabulary for the IELTS exam.
Okay.
You know, looking at listening, reading, writing, speaking the different sections.
And the other?
The other's more foundational, a list of the top 100 most common English verbs, really the core stuff.
Right, the building blocks.
Exactly, with basic definitions, examples, that sort of thing.
So our mission here in this deep dive, and this is really for you, the listener, is to kind of sift through this. Not just list words, but pull out the important insights.
Yeah, help you understand how vocabulary actually works in different situations.
And why certain words, or maybe types of words, are so important.
Basically, get you well informed on this, quickly cut through the noise.
Whether you're learning English or, just curious about how it all fits together.
Precisely. We'll look at that targeted functional vocabulary from the IELTS source, and then see how it connects back to that fundamental structure, those common verbs.
Because understanding how those two layers sort of interact, that seems key.
It really is. It's how you unlock the power of the language, I think.
Okay, let's dig in then. This first source, the IELTS one, it's clearly made for the test.
Right.
And it emphasizes, it's not just about knowing lots of words, though. That's good. They mentioned flashcards for that.
Yeah, for generalists.
But for a test like IELTS, the real value is understanding vocabulary for specific subjects and knowing how to use it effectively in different contexts, different skills.
Yeah, it's structured around those four skills: listening, reading, writing, speaking.
And the second source, purely foundational, you said.
Totally. Just that list. The verbs you use constantly, every day, the backbone of, well, pretty much every sentence.
It's interesting how they complement each other, though.
How so?
Well, it's like you need the specialized tool that's the IELTS vocab,
Okay.
but you also need the basic hammer and nails,
Yeah.
the stuff you use for everything.
Ah, the common verbs.
Exactly. You can learn words for, say, the environment from source one,
Right.
but you can't actually talk about it without be, do, have, make, go, use from source two.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
And it brings up something important.
Yeah.
While that first source is for a test, the vocabulary it covers, and maybe even more so, the strategies it suggests.
For understanding words.
Yeah, for understanding and using vocabulary in context.
Yeah.
That's useful for anyone learning English.
Or just anyone wanting to understand the language better.
Absolutely. It's about using language effectively in real situations. That's universal.
Okay, let's decode some of that IELTS vocabulary then, section by section. Listening first.
Sure. The source points out listening often uses conversational English.
Even in lectures or speeches.
Yeah, often because they're given to a live audience, so it has that feel.
Yeah.
And common topics pop up a lot.
Like
Work, travel, family, school life, that kind of thing.
Okay. And the source gives examples.
It does, and some useful distinctions, like under work. It talks about career, that's the broad, long-term thing,
Right.
versus occupation, which is just your specific job now.
Ah, okay. So career in teaching, occupation as tutor.
Exactly. Or types of work, shift work.
Scheduled hours, often paid hourly.
Right. Versus salary work, fixed pay, maybe more flexible hours, maybe longer hours sometimes.
Gotcha. And manual labor.
Physical work could be skilled, like a carpenter, or unskilled, like maybe stocking shelves. Useful words to know?
Definitely. What about travel and places?
Well, accommodation is a tricky one.
How so?
It means where you live permanently and where you stay when you travel, like a hotel.
Ah, right. Context is key there.
Totally. Transport is just getting around, not walking.
Yeah.
In describing cities, beyond city center or downtown,
Yeah.
they mention main square or describing a place as having character.
Meaning?
Interesting, unique, usually in a good way, often linked to being traditional or quaint.
Which means old-fashioned, but sounds nice here.
Usually, yeah. Adds charm.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What about family?
Briefly mentions types. Immediate family, spouse, siblings.
That's just sibling rivalry, too, I see.
Yeah. Then extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews, and in-laws, your spouse's family.
Less common ones like step relatives,
Yeah,
great-grandparents.
right. Just covers the bases.
And school life seems university-focused.
Mostly, yeah. Terms like counselor could be academic help or psychological support.
Okay.
Administrator manages a department. office hours.
Time crofts are available without appointments.
Exactly. A center is usually a place for specific activities, like a student center. A service is help offered, like IT service.
Institute often means the whole university.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting, confusing terms, especially UK versus North American English differences, which matters for IELTS.
Like what?
Of course. Can mean one single class or your whole degree program.
Wow, okay. Big difference.
And tutorial could be a small meeting with a teacher or just like an instruction booklet or video.
Right.
And in the UK, you sit an exam or resit it if you take it again.
Not take an exam.
You can say take, but sit is very common in British English. Knowing these little differences helps avoid confusion.
Definitely. Okay, moving to reading vocabulary. The source says this section often has tougher, more specialized words.
Yeah, advanced stuff sometimes, but it really stresses strategy over knowing every single word.
Which is good news for test takers.
Absolutely. It talks about vocabulary and context strategies.
Okay, like what?
First, looking at word form, using prefixes like under.
Or suffixes like ontology for fields of study or ate, often for verbs.
Right, to guess the meaning or the part of speech. But like you said before.
Not always reliable on its own.
Exactly, which is why the context is so crucial. The surrounding sentence, the paragraph.
So that helps clarify things.
Totally. The example given is understory. Under means below. If the text is about forests, things growing low.
You can figure et means the plants under the main trees.
Right. Context nails it down, even if the prefix alone isn't enough. Or it helps you figure out root words like geo in geology if the text is about rocks.
What's the other strategy? Sounds a bit weird.
It does. Practicing ignoring the word.
Just skip it.
Yeah. Skip a word you don't know, read the sentence or passage. Does the main meaning change much? If not, maybe that word wasn't essential for understanding the core idea or answering the question.
Builds confidence, I guess. You don't need 100%.
Exactly. It's about strategic reading.
They mentioned the academic word list, the AWL.
Yeah, a list of words common across academic fields.
Named to memorize it.
No, the source advises against trying to memorize the whole massive list. Just get a feel for the types of words, formal academic vocabulary.
Okay. And there's a special focus.
Yeah, on environment and life science vocabulary, because those topics come up a lot in Reading.
Makes sense. So terms like?
Well, environment itself, pollution, erosion, habitat, the place something lives.
Agriculture.
Right. And a really key concept, sustainable. Doing something like farming or using resources in a way that doesn't wreck the environment or use everything up for the future. Sustainable agriculture, sustainable energy.
Got it. What else?
Emissions, like from cars or factories. Flora and fauna.
Plants and animals. Sounds fancy.
Latin origin. Then biology terms.
Yeah.
Species group that can reproduce together, evolve, changing over long periods to survive better.
Cell. Basic unit of life. Soil or dirt.
Yeah, fundamental stuff for those topics.
Okay, on to writing vocabulary. 2 tasks here, right?
Yep. General training task 1 is usually a letter or some communication.
Conversational style, you said.
Pretty much, yeah. Similar to listening vocab. Academic task 1 is describing a graph or chart.
Needs different words.
Definitely. And task 2 is an opinion essay for both general and academic.
So for academic task 1, the graph description.
You need specific reporting verbs.
Instead of the graph says.
Exactly. You use words like illustrates, reveals, provides, presents, shows, indicates. Sounds more formal, academic.
And adverbs are important too.
Crucial. To add detail about how things change, did numbers go up dramatically?
Big jump.
Or gradually?
Slowly, steadily.
Markedly, noticeably. Slightly, just a bit. Also approximately, roughly. For estimates. Exactly, specifically.
As precision and color.
Right. And using synonyms for rise and fall, like increase, decrease, climb, drop, surge, plummet, adds variety.
Good tip. What about task 2, the essay?
Focus shifts to transitions.
Words that link ideas.
Exactly. They structure your argument, make it flow smoothly for the reader, show your thinking.
What kind of functions do they have?
Things like adding more info. Furthermore, in addition.
Okay.
Comparing or contrasting. Similarly, however, on the other hand, making conditions if, unless.
Giving examples, for instance, such as describing results, therefore, consequently, as a result.
Using these well makes a huge difference in clarity and organization.
I can see that. Okay, last section, speaking vocabulary.
Right. The source splits this into 2 types. Function words.
For managing the chat.
Yeah, exchanging info, transitions, and then topic-specific words.
So function words first. What are those like?
They're vital for sounding natural, interactive. Phrases for asking for information. Describe, would you say that? Oh, could you explain more? Can you tell me?
And confirming information.
Things like, got it. Oh, so you mentioned who, you mean ooh-hoo. Sometimes using sorry with a questioning tone to double check.
Oh, right.
Or as you know, which confirms something you both already understand. It's about interaction.
And transitions are key in speaking too.
Definitely. In the part 2 long turn, where you speak for a minute or two, transitions clearly mark your ideas, giving examples, for instance, adding points, moreover, cause effect, so clarifying, comparing, likewise, contrasting, although summarizing, in short, emphasizing, indeed, helps structure your talk.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What about in the more conversational parts 1 and 3?
Transitions there are often more subtle, like verbal pauses. Exactly. Let's see. Also phrases like, that's a good question. They buy you thinking time and sound natural.
Right, not like a robot.
Yeah. Also, introductory phrases like, first of all, or, so what about, to bring up a new point.
And those concluding phrases.
Yeah.
The question tags.
Right. Things like, you know what I mean? Do you, yeah, does that make sense? Right.
They aren't really asking, are they?
Not usually for information. It's more about keeping the conversation flowing, checking engagement, signaling the end of a thought. Very conversational.
Got it. And then there's topic vocabulary for speaking.
Yeah, the source lists a huge range. Free time, school, travel, work, hometown, friends, weather.
Food, music, movies, books, TV.
Recreation, sports, traditions, technology, household news, shopping.
Wow, broad range.
It is. Shows you need flexibility. It picks out a few examples not covered elsewhere, like get on, meaning have a good relationship with friends.
Or weather terms like sleet or mist.
Recipe for food, plot for stories, an outing for free time, a detached home. Just examples of the kind of specific words that might come up.
Okay, so that first source gives this really detailed map of targeted strategic vocabulary.
Yeah, where specific words matter, how to use them, strategies for learning, especially tailored for that test environment.
But like we said, none of that works without the foundation.
Which brings us right back to source number 2, the top 100 most common English verbs.
The structural steel, you called it.
Exactly. Not specialized, not topic specific, just fundamental.
And the source gives definitions, examples. We won't go through all 100, obviously.
I know. But looking at a few really shows why they're so essential.
Like the top 3, be, have, do.
Right. They're main verbs. I am happy, she has red hair, he did well.
But also auxiliary verbs constantly.
All the time. Forming tenses, they're singing, questions, have you eaten, negatives, I don't know. They underpin so much grammar.
Then a verb like get, the source calls it versatile.
Incredibly versatile. Receiving, get a gift. Becoming, get tired. Arriving, get home. Achieving, get a promotion.
Plus tons of phrasal verbs. Get up, get away, get by.
Its frequency comes from that massive range of meanings.
Or make and do, often confused.
Sometimes. Make dinner, make a plan. Do is more for general actions, tasks, do chores, do research. Subtle but useful distinction.
What about verbs for thinking and feeling?
Essential ones. See, look, know, think, feel, understand, believe, seem.
Not just physical actions.
No, they're about internal states, perception, cognition, how we process the world. Crucial for opinions, feelings, understanding.
And verbs for basic interaction.
Loads of them in the top 100. Give, take, use, find, tell, ask, need, help, allow, provide, send.
The stuff we do all day when communicating.
Exchanging things, information, asking for help. Core communication verbs.
Even the simple movement verbs. Go, come, run, walk, move, sit, stand, turn, carry, fall.
They seem basic, but describing physical action and position is fundamental to talking about anything happening in the world.
So the insight isn't just that they're common.
No, it's that they represent the most basic, fundamental actions, states, and relationships we need to express anything.
The more comfortable you are with these core verbs,
And all their little nuances, how they combine with other words.
the more fluent and flexible you become.
Exactly. They're the engine.
So bringing this all together for you, the listener, we've seen these 2 layers.
The top 100 verbs, the indispensable skeleton, the core engine.
Driving the sentences, expressing basic ideas.
And then the topic-specific strategic vocabulary, like from the IELTS source, that adds the detail, the precision, the nuance.
Allows you to talk about that quaint town or sustainable agriculture or the plot of a movie.
With much more accuracy, more sophistication, moving beyond just basic communication.
So getting better at English isn't just about learning more words randomly.
No, it's about understanding these different types of words.
And learning how to use them strategically, in context.
Right. Mastering those fundamental verbs and learning relevant topic vocabulary, plus using strategies like context.
That makes you a more confident, more capable communicator and learner.
Absolutely. If you think about the bigger picture, vocabulary really is the key.
Unlocks understanding, unlocks expression.
It's the bridge, isn't it, between your thoughts and sharing them, between reading words and truly getting the meaning.
So here's something to think about. How much more of the world, well, opens up to you when you have the right words?
Yeah, words to describe it accurately, understand it deeply, interact with it effectively.
What new connections, maybe new ideas, new opportunities might you find just by adding a few strategic words to your toolkit?
And really getting comfortable with how they connect to those fundamental verbs you use all the time.
It's worth considering.
Definitely. So keep exploring, keep building that vocabulary strategically, foundationally. Every word you truly grasp and can use. It expands your world.
Verbs. If language is a car, verbs are definitely the engine. Maybe the wheels too.
Yeah, they're the action, the doing part, or even the being part. Without them, nothing really happens in a sentence.
Exactly. They provide all the dynamism. So today we're doing a deep dive into something really foundational. We've got this document, the top 100 verbs in English, and we're going to unpack it.
Right. The goal isn't just to read a list, is it? It's to see why these verbs are so common, how flexible they are.
And how knowing them better can seriously boost your English skills, both understanding and using the language.
Because these aren't just any 100 verbs, they are the absolute workhorses. You hear and see them constantly.
For sure. The source document lists them 1 to 100, gives a definition, some examples, even pronunciation. So let's jump right in at the top.
Okay. The first few are, well, they're giants. Tiny words, huge impact.
And number 1 is be.
Right, be. It's a bit different because it's often not about physical action. It's about existence or a state, like I am a student or they are tired.
But its real power comes from being an auxiliary verb.
Right.
A helping verb.
Exactly. That's key to why it's number 1. It helps other verbs show time tense like they were waiting. Or it helps form the passive voice, like the cake was eaten. The cake isn't doing anything. The action happens to it. Be is crucial for that.
Got it. Super important. Okay, number 2, have.
Have. Another powerhouse. The source points out possession, obviously. She has a car. But again, like be, it's a vital auxiliary verb too.
For things that are finished. Completed actions.
Precisely. It's the foundation for the perfect tenses. We have finished the project. It tells you the action is done or maybe started in the past and is still relevant.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Number 3, do. As a main verb, it seems straightforward, like he does his chores.
Yeah, but do is absolutely essential for making questions and negative statements in English. You can't just say like, you pizza. You need do. Do you like pizza?
Right.
Or he does not like pizza. Many languages don't need a helper word like this, but English relies heavily on do for this grammatical structure.
Good point. Okay, number 4, say. Seems simple enough. Expressing things. She says she's coming.
Yep, just basic reporting of speech or communication, fundamental.
Now, number 5. This is where things get really interesting. Get. The source gives examples like receiving, I got a package, or becoming, it got dark.
Oh, get is legendary for its flexibility. It's like the Swiss Army knife of English verbs, seriously.
Okay.
It can mean understand, I get it, arrive, we got home late, fetch, can you get me that book?
Yeah.
Obtain, persuade, the list goes on.
And phrasal verbs too, right? Like get up, get by.
Exactly. Loads of them. Get over, get along, get away with. Its versatility makes it incredibly common, especially in spoken English where it often stands in for more specific verbs.
Wow. Okay. Get is definitely a verb to watch. Number 6. Make. Feels like it's mostly about creation or construction. She makes great coffee. They made a plan.
Yes, usually forming something, bringing something into existence, whether it's physical like the coffee or abstract like a plan or a decision.
Number 7, go. The classic movement verb. Moving away. Let's go outside.
The primary verb for movement, travel, yeah, but also change of state, like things went wrong.
Number 8, no, not action, but mental state. Familiarity, I know her, we know the way.
Exactly. A state of awareness, understanding, or recognition. Cognitive.
Number 9, take. Another one that feels like it has a lot of uses, like get. The source mentions carrying take this, but also he took a break.
Take is definitely up there in versatility. It can mean remove. Take off your shoes, except I'll take the blue one. Choose, require. It takes time.
And again, phrasal verbs. Take off, take over.
Absolutely. Take up, take on, take back. Mastering take and its combinations opens up a huge amount of English expression.
And rounding out the top 10, number 10, see. Mostly vision. Did you see that bird?
Primarily, yes. But importantly, it also means understanding. Ah, I see what you mean. Or meeting people, I need to see the doctor.
That link between seeing and understanding seems common.
It is. Perception often links to cognition in language.
So those are the top 10, the real heavy hitters. You basically can't speak English without them.
Pretty much impossible, yeah. But the list goes on, obviously, covering all sorts of other essential actions and states.
Okay, moving down the list. We get more movement with 11, come. Kind of the opposite of go, movement towards you, come inside.
Right. Then we get into thinking and perceiving. 12, think. 13, look, which, as the source notes, can also be about appearance. She looks tired. And 14, want, our internal states and desires.
Then basic interactions. 15, give. 17, find. 19, tell. 21, call. 23, ask. Sharing things, finding information, communicating.
All core human activities.
Wait, source list give again at number 18? We just had it at 15.
Huh. It does. Well, I guess that just shows how incredibly frequent give must be in the language data they analyzed. Maybe slightly different contexts counted separately or just sheer volume.
Interesting. Okay. Then we have verbs about effort and using things. 16, use. 20, work. 22, try.
And states or changes. 24, need. 25, feel. 26, become. Like changing state, he became famous.
Placing things. 27, leave. 28, put. Simple but essential.
Definitely. Then 29. Mean, which is interesting. It can be about definition, what does this mean? Or intention, I didn't mean to.
Right. And 30. Keep, like, maintaining something. Keep trying. And 31. Permission. Let me go.
We also see verbs for starting things. 32. Begin. And 37. Start. They seem very similar.
Yeah, often interchangeable. And appearance verbs. 33. It seems difficult. And much later, 79. Appear. A rabbit appeared.
Looks like there's a little jump in the source numbering there, between 33 and 34 maybe.
Ah, yeah, page jump maybe. Okay, then more helping and communicating. 44, help. 35, talk and changing direction. 36, turn.
Then a whole batch related to perception and physical action. 38, show. 39, hear. 40, play. 41, run. 42, move. Also 62, off. 77, love. And 45, believe. How we feel, where we are, what we hold true. Absolutely. Then verbs about causing things or creating them. 46, bring. 47, happen, things occurring. 48, write. 49, provide. Later we see 65, create. 86, build. 99, develop, covering everything from chance events to deliberate construction.
Posture verbs too. 50, sit. 51, stand. And number 57, set.
Set. That's another one like get and take, isn't it? Hugely versatile.
Totally. You can set the table, set a record, the sun sets. You can set goals, set something down. It goes on and on.
It really does. These verbs with deep roots just seem to collect meanings over centuries. They're grammatical powerhouses.
Okay, what else? Transactions and social meetings. 52, lose. 53, pay. 54, meet. Later, 80, buy. And 94, sell. The language of economy and society.
Makes sense. And continuing or including. 55, include. 56, continue. And the crucial life processes. 58, learn. And 59, change.
Guiding and understanding. 60, lead. 61, understand. Stopping actions. 64, stop.
More communications. 66, speak. 67, read. Then 68, allow. And here's another source quirk. It seems to skip number 69.
Yeah, it goes straight from 68, allow, to 70, spend. Odd. Okay, so 70. Spend time or money, usually, in 71. Grow.
Followed by more physical actions. 72, open. 73, walk. And later 87, stay. 88, fall. 89, cut. 90, reach. 92, raise, like lifting something or children. 93, pass. And the final one, 100, carry.
We also have verbs about outcomes and mental states. 74, win. 75, offer. 76, remember. 78, consider. 81, wait. 85, expect. Planning, hoping, reflecting. 97, explain. 98, hope.
And the more serious side of life. 82, serve. 83, die. And 91, kill. Language has to cover everything.
True. And near the end, 95, decide. 96, return, more agency and movement.
So looking back over the whole 100 from be right down to carry, you can really see how these cover the vast majority of common actions, states, processes, everything we talk about day to day.
Yeah, the definitions might seem simple, but mastering them, especially those really flexible ones like get, take, set, and all their phrasal verb combinations, that's where the fluency comes in.
Absolutely. Understanding the nuances and the context is key.
So knowing these 100 verbs really gives you a massive advantage. You're equipped to understand and produce a huge percentage of everyday English. It's like having the main keys to the language.
It really is. You've basically mapped out the core territory of English actions and states just by going through this list.
So to wrap up our deep dive today, we've journeyed through the engine room of English, the 100 most frequent verbs, using our source document as a guide. We saw the foundational role of verbs like be, have, do.
We explored the incredible versatility of verbs like get, take, and set.
And we saw how this group of 100 words together allows us to express, well, almost anything we need to.
Understanding these isn't just memorization. It's about recognizing the fundamental patterns of the language. It makes you a better listener, a better reader, a more confident speaker.
Definitely. So here's something final for you to chew on. We talked about how verbs like get or set change dramatically with little words like up, down, off, on, up. Get up is totally different from get down or get over.
Right. The meaning isn't just in the verb itself, but in the combination. It's the partnerships they form.
So think about that. What other common words that you use all the time might have these hidden layers? Words that seem simple but actually shift their meaning quite a bit depending on the context or the little words they travel with. Something to keep an ear out for. Ever get that feeling you might be using a word wrong, but you're too afraid to ask?
Oh, yeah.
Well, fear no more. Because today we're diving deep into 15 words that even fluent English speakers mess up. We've got a YouTube script here all about leveling up your vocabulary. And you might be surprised by some of these common mistakes.
It is fascinating, though, how some of these errors stem from subtle distinctions that are easy to miss in casual conversation.
Okay, let's unpack this. We'll start with some beginner traps. Words that seem straightforward, but can be surprisingly tricky. I'll be honest, the word literally is one I hear misused all the time.
Yep.
Just the other day, someone told me they were literally dying from how much they had to do that week.
Yes. Literally seems to be a word that's been taken hostage by hyperbole.
So remind us, what should literally mean? Why is it important to use it correctly?
Literally means something actually happened, exactly as stated.
Yeah.
It emphasizes the reality of a situation, not an exaggeration.
Right.
While your friend might have felt overwhelmed, they weren't literally dying.
Right.
You see, using literally correctly makes sure your words carry their intended weight. It's about precision and clarity, especially in an age where misinformation can spread so easily.
That's a really good point. The impact on communication is huge. Okay, another beginner word that trips people up is unique. I once saw a store advertising a sale on very unique items. Something about that just felt off.
That's because unique means one of a kind.
Right.
Inherently special. It stands alone.
Right.
So adding modifiers like very or quite is redundant and actually weakens the impact of the word.
So instead of saying something is very unique, how can we highlight that specialness in everyday conversation?
Let the word unique speak for itself.
Okay.
You could say that painting is truly unique or her style is unique. You're emphasizing the inherent specialness without needing to qualify it further.
That's so interesting. I can see how that subtle shift makes a big difference. Even these beginner words have hidden depths. You really have to think about their true meaning.
Absolutely, and that's what makes language so fascinating. Now, prepare to have some assumptions challenged because some words have meanings completely different from what most people assume.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give me an example of one of these words.
Let's start with irony.
Okay.
Many people confuse irony with simple coincidence or bad luck. For example, someone might say, "It's so ironic that I won the lottery and then got hit by a car."
So winning the lottery and then getting hit by a car, that's just bad luck, not irony.
Yeah.
What makes a situation truly ironic?
True irony involves a situation where the outcome is the opposite of what was expected, often with a humorous or sarcastic undertone. A classic example would be a fire station burning down. It's not just about unfortunate timing, it's about a surprising reversal of expectations.
Wow, that makes so much sense. It's not just about something bad happening. It's about the unexpected nature of the situation.
You see, understanding irony helps us analyze situations more deeply. It's not just about bad luck. It's about recognizing the unexpected and sometimes absurd nature of life.
Speaking of unexpected twists,
Yeah.
let's talk about a word. often misused in situations with high stakes. Alibis.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I hear people using alibi as a synonym for any kind of excuse.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I have a good alibi.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a common mistake. People might say, I didn't finish the project, but I have a good alibi.
Wait, so if it's not just any excuse, what makes a real alibi?
Mhm.
I'm genuinely confused.
An alibi has a very specific legal meaning.
Okay.
It refers to proof that someone was somewhere else at the time a crime was committed, demonstrating their innocence. It's not just any excuse. It's evidence that clears someone of suspicion.
So using alibi to explain why you didn't finish a project wouldn't really make sense.
Exactly. Using alibi in casual conversation when you simply mean excuse can actually undermine your credibility. It shows a lack of precision in your language.
Okay, this is making me rethink how I use these words. What other intermediate words are lurking out there, ready to trip us up?
How about a word that's often confused with its near opposite? Disinterested. Many people use disinterested to mean uninterested or bored. For instance, someone might say, I was completely disinterested in that meeting.
Disinterested. If it doesn't mean bored or uninterested, then what does it actually mean?
Disinterested actually describes someone who is impartial or unbiased, free from personal stake or interest in a situation. A good example would be a judge who must remain disinterested in the outcome of a case.
Okay.
They can't be swayed by personal opinions or biases.
So if I wanted to say that I found the meeting boring, disinterested wouldn't be the right word to use.
Precisely. In that case, uninterested or bored would be more accurate.
Right.
Disinterested implies neutrality and objectivity. It's about being impartial, not uncaring.
I never realized how a single word could completely change the tone and meaning of a sentence. It's all about understanding those subtle but powerful nuances.
Absolutely. And that's what we're here to explore. Are you ready to be bemused by the next word?
Bemused. Okay, you've definitely got my attention. What's so tricky about this one?
People often think bemused means amused or entertained.
Okay.
You might hear someone say, I was bemused by his silly jokes.
So if bemused doesn't mean amused, then what's the real meaning?
Bemused actually means puzzled, bewildered, or even slightly confused. Think of it as a state of mild perplexity, for example. You might be bemused by a riddle you can't solve,
Well,
or a strange event you don't fully understand.
so it's not about laughing at a joke. It's about that feeling of, wait, what just happened?
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot of sense.
Imagine someone watching a magic trick,
Right.
their brow furrowed, a slight smile playing on their lips.
Yeah.
That's bemusement. It's not amusement,
Yeah.
but a fascinated perplexity.
Okay, now I'm really starting to understand the difference.
Uh-huh.
Bemused is a much richer word than I realized.
Mm-hmm.
It's about that space between amusement and confusion.
Exactly. And these subtle distinctions can make a big difference in how your message is received. Are you ready for our final intermediate word?
Bring it on. I'm ready to tackle anything.
All right. Let's explore a word that's often misused to describe something grand or impressive. Enormity. People often use enormity to emphasize the sheer size or scope of something.
Uh-huh.
You might hear someone say, I was overwhelmed by the enormity of the project.
That's how I usually use it,
hmm
but I have a feeling it doesn't quite mean what I think it means.
Yeah.
What's the real meaning?
While enormity can relate to size, its primary meaning leans towards something more serious and weighty.
Okay.
It often refers to extreme wickedness, outrageousness, or the sheer gravity of a situation,
Right.
particularly in a moral or ethical context.
So it's less about physical size and more about the weight of the implications.
Precisely.
Mm.
For instance, if you were discussing a horrific crime, you might speak of the enormity of the act to emphasize its moral depravity and the severity of its consequences.
Wow, that puts the word in a whole new light. It's not just about something being big, it's about something being profoundly impactful, often in a negative sense.
Exactly. It's a word that carries a lot of weight, both literally and figuratively.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground already. And I'm starting to feel the enormity and the true sense of the word, of all these linguistic nuances. What's next on our journey?
Next, we'll be venturing into the realm of advanced words, where the nuances become even more intricate. Are you ready to level up your vocabulary even further?
Absolutely. I'm eager to see what other linguistic gems await us in this deep dive
Yeah.
into words.
Right.
It'd be great.
Awesome. Fasten your seatbelts, because these advanced words can be real brain twisters. They're the ones that often pop up in intellectual discussions or professional settings, and misusing them can unfortunately make you sound less credible.
Okay, I'm ready to face the advanced word challenge head on. Let's start with one that I've definitely struggled with in the past.
Decimate.
Decimate is fascinating because its common usage has drifted quite far from its original meaning. People often use it as a synonym for completely destroy, like saying the hurricane decimated the coastal towns. Yeah, I've definitely heard it used that way. But if it doesn't mean to completely destroy, then what does it actually mean?
Decimate has a very specific historical root. It comes from the ancient Roman practice of punishing mutinous troops by killing 1 out of every 10 soldiers. So the original meaning of decimate is to reduce by 1/10, not to obliterate completely.
Wow, I had no idea. That's a pretty grim origin story for a word. So using decimate to describe the total destruction of a town wouldn't be quite right.
Exactly. It's a case of hyperbole overtaking precision. While the impact of a hurricane can be devastating, it's unlikely to literally reduce a town's population by exactly 1/10.
This is why I love these deep dives. You uncover these hidden layers of meaning that we often miss in everyday conversation. It's like learning a secret code.
This word's bloody history reminds us that language carries the weight of the past. Even today, decimate suggests a severe calculated reduction, not total destruction.
Okay, what other advanced words are waiting to be decoded?
Let's tackle one that often gets misused in academic circles: peruse.
Peruse. I'll admit I've been guilty of using this one incorrectly myself. I always thought it meant to quickly skim through something.
That's a very common misconception. In reality, peruse means to read thoroughly and carefully. It implies a close and attentive examination of a text, not a hasty glance.
So if I said I perused the report before the meeting, it would mean I'd given it a very close read, not just skim the headings.
Precisely. Using peruse correctly conveys a sense of diligence and attention to detail. It suggests you've really absorbed the information.
This is another one of those aha moments. I'm realizing that using these advanced words correctly can signal a certain level of intellectual rigor. It shows you're not just skimming the surface.
Exactly. It's about choosing words that accurately reflect the depth of your engagement with the topic.
All right, bring on the next advanced word challenge. I'm feeling more and more confident with each one we tackle.
Let's see if you can crack the code on this one. Nonplussed.
Nonplussed. This one seems tricky. I've heard it used to describe someone who's calm and collected under pressure. Like, even though the presentation went wrong, she remained nonplussed.
That's a clever guess, but it's actually the opposite. Nonplussed describes a state of being surprised and confused, often to the point of speechlessness. It's that feeling of being caught off guard and unsure how to react.
Wow, so it's almost like being speechless with shock.
Exactly. Nonplussed implies a momentary loss of composure, a sense of being bewildered. It's that deer in the headlights feeling.
That makes so much more sense. I can see how misusing this word could lead to some awkward situations.
Indeed, it highlights the importance of understanding the nuances of these advanced words. They can have a big impact on how our message is perceived.
Okay, what other advanced word adventures await us? I'm ready to expand my vocabulary horizons.
Let's explore a word that often gets used in a way that diminishes its true impact. Plethora.
Plethora.
I usually think of this word as meaning a lot of something, in a positive way, like there was a plethora of fun activities to choose from at the festival. That's a common interpretation. But plethora carries a slightly different nuance. While it does mean an abundance of something, it often implies an excessive or overwhelming amount.
Okay.
It can sometimes even suggest a sense of burden or inconvenience.
Interesting. So it's not just about having a lot of something, it's about having maybe too much of it, like it's overflowing.
Precisely. Imagine a situation where you're bombarded with information or faced with an overwhelming number of choices. That sense of being inundated can be captured by the word plethora.
So if I were to say, I have a plethora of emails to respond to, it would imply that I'm feeling a bit swamped by them, not necessarily excited about having a full inbox.
Exactly. It's about that tipping point where abundance starts to feel like excess. It's about that too much of a good thing feeling.
I'm starting to see how using plethora correctly can add a layer of sophistication to my descriptions. It's a much more nuanced way of expressing abundance than just saying a lot.
It's about choosing words that convey not just the quantity, but also the impact of that quantity.
This is making me realize how much I've taken these words for granted, what other advanced words are hiding in plain sight, waiting to be understood.
Let's delve into one that's often misused in discussions about facts and information.
Factoid.
Factoid. This one seems pretty straightforward. I always thought it just meant a small or trivial fact.
That's how it's commonly used, but its original meaning is a bit more nuanced. even controversial. The term factoid was actually coined to describe something that appears to be a fact, but is actually false or unsubstantiated.
Right, really? That's a completely different meaning.
That's the risk with using factoid in its original sense. It implies a degree of skepticism or even doubt about the validity of the information being presented. It can be a way of highlighting that something may sound like a fact, but it hasn't actually been proven true.
This is a perfect example of how language can evolve and shift in meaning over time. It's important to be aware of both the common usage and the original intent behind a word. You're absolutely right. Language is a living, breathing thing that constantly adapts and changes. Our goal is to be aware of those changes and use words in a way that is both accurate and effective.
So how can we use factoid in a way that doesn't accidentally spread misinformation?
If you're unsure of the accuracy of a piece of information, it's best to avoid using factoid altogether. You could say something like, here's an interesting tidbit, or this might be a bit of trivia, but this avoids any implication that the information might be false.
That's really helpful advice. Okay, bring on the next advanced word. I'm ready to conquer some more linguistic complexities.
Let's tackle a word that often causes confusion in discussions and debates. Moot.
Moot? I've always thought of this word as meaning irrelevant or pointless. Like that argument is moot because the decision has already been made.
That's a common understanding, but it's not entirely accurate. While moot can relate to something that's no longer relevant, its original meaning is a bit more nuanced. It originally referred to a matter that is open for debate or discussion.
So if a topic is moot, it's not necessarily pointless. It just means there's room for further discussion or consideration.
Precisely. Imagine a legal case where the circumstances change, making the original point of contention no longer relevant to the outcome. The issue might be considered moot, not because it was unimportant, but because it's no longer central to the case.
That's a really helpful clarification. So it's less about the topic being irrelevant and more about its significance having shifted or diminished.
Exactly. It's about acknowledging that the context has changed, and the original point of debate may no longer be the primary focus.
I'm definitely feeling more enlightened than moot after tackling that one. What other advanced word adventures await us?
Let's wrap up our exploration of advanced words with a pair that often trips people up: infer and imply.
Infer and imply, the classic conundrum. I know these words are related to drawing conclusions, but I often mix them up.
It's a common confusion. The key difference lies in who is doing the action. The speaker or writer implies something, meaning they suggest or hint at something without stating it directly. The listener or reader infers something, meaning they draw a conclusion based on what is implied.
So if I were to say, it's getting late, I might be implying that it's time to go, even though I haven't explicitly said so.
Exactly. And if you, as the listener, understood my implication, you would have correctly inferred my meaning.
I see. So it's a two-way street. The speaker sends out a subtle signal, and the listener picks up on that signal and draws a conclusion.
Precisely. It's like a subtle dance of communication where meaning is conveyed through suggestion and interpretation.
This distinction is so subtle, but it's crucial for clear communication. Misusing these words can lead to all sorts of misunderstandings.
Absolutely. Mastering the difference between infer and imply is essential for navigating conversations and interpreting written texts accurately. It's about understanding both sides of the communication equation.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. It's amazing how much depth and complexity there is to these seemingly simple words.
And we've only just scratched the surface. But I hope you're starting to see how understanding the nuances of language can empower you to communicate with greater clarity and precision.
I'm definitely feeling a lot more confident about using these words correctly. It's like a whole new world of linguistic possibilities has opened up.
And that's the beauty of language learning. It's an ongoing journey of discovery and refinement. Are you ready for a quick challenge to test your newfound knowledge?
Absolutely. Bring it on. All right. Hit me with that word challenge. I'm ready to put my knowledge to the test.
Okay. Let's see if you can recall the true meaning of nonplussed. Without looking back at our discussion, take a moment to think about it.
Okay. No peeking. I think I've got it. Nonplussed means to be surprised and confused, almost to the point of speechlessness. It's like that feeling of being completely thrown off guard and not knowing how to react.
That's absolutely correct. You've successfully decoded nonplussed. It seems our deep dive has truly expanded your vocabulary horizons.
I'm feeling pretty proud of myself right now. This whole experience has been eye-opening. I've realized that using words correctly isn't just about sounding smart. It's about communicating effectively and ensuring that my message is understood.
It's about wielding the power of language with precision and care, choosing words that accurately reflect not only what we want to say, but also the subtle nuances of meaning we wish to convey.
You know, it's funny because I used to think that vocabulary was just about memorizing definitions. But this deep dive has shown me that it's so much more than that. It's about understanding the history, the etymology, the subtle shades of meaning that make each word unique.
It's about recognizing that words are not static, but dynamic. They evolve over time, their meanings shifting and adapting to reflect the changing world around us.
And that's what makes language so fascinating. It's a living, breathing entity that connects us to the past, informs our present, and shapes our future.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I encourage you to continue exploring the fascinating world of language. Pay attention to the words you use, the words you encounter, and the way they impact your understanding of the world.
I know I will. This has been such a rewarding journey. I'm walking away with a newfound appreciation for the power of words and the importance of using them correctly.
Remember, language is a gift, a tool that allows us to connect, create, and inspire. Let's use it wisely.
Absolutely.
Until next time.
Happy wordsmithing. Okay, so let's be real for a sec. Small talk, right? It can be like the most awkward thing ever. Like when you're stuck in a situation and you know you should be chatting, but your mind just goes blank. Anyone else? Feel me on that. But get this. What if I told you that this deep dive could actually turn that dread into pure confidence? And we're going to do it using a source you'd never expect. A video script, get this, for people learning English.
I know, right? Sounds a little out there. But seriously, this script is full of stuff that goes way deeper than just language. It's like a secret masterclass in how humans connect, hidden inside an English lesson.
Okay, I gotta admit, when you first mentioned this source, I was kind of like, how can something for total beginners help someone who's already fluent?
That's fair, totally. But the cool thing here is, by breaking small talk down into these simple steps, it actually shows you the psychology behind how we connect. Like, it's a cheat sheet for building rapport, even if you never needed help with English in the first place.
So it's more about understanding the, deeper game, not just memorizing lines.
Exactly. For example, the script makes a big deal about greetings and weather talk, stuff we might think is just filler.
Yeah, I always thought that stuff was kind of pointless.
Right. But they actually serve a super important purpose. Like, humans are literally wired to bond over shared experiences.
Okay.
Even something as simple as complaining about the heat or, whatever the weather's doing.
Okay, yeah, I guess I can see that.
It creates that instant common ground, that we're in this together feeling, which is huge for starting any kind of connection.
Wow, that's actually so true. I never thought about it that way.
And the script goes even further. Instead of those boring old greetings like, "Hi, how are you?" it gives you phrases that fit the specific situation so you get a better response.
Oh, I like where this is going. Give me an example.
So say you're at a party. Instead of that robotic, "Hi, how are you?" try something like, "What brings you here?"
Way more interesting, right?
Way more. It's like you're actually interested, not just saying words. Exactly. It shows you're paying attention and they actually get to share something about themselves. It's what they call a strong bid in, like conversation analysis stuff. Each thing we say is a bid to connect.
Ooh, I'm digging this bidding concept. So we're all just out here trying to make the strongest bid to connect.
Totally. And this script is giving us all the winning moves. Another one they have is, instead of just saying nice weather, you could say something like, "This weather's crazy, right?"
It's like inviting the other person in on the joke. I like it. So it's making small talk feel, I don't know, less robotic. But what really stood out to me was the role-playing part.
Ah, yes. That's where the magic really happens. The people who made this script, they get it. Knowing the right words isn't enough. You got to actually practice using them. And role-playing is the best way to do that.
But what if you don't have someone to practice with? Isn't that kind of, I don't know, weird to do alone?
For sure. But you can totally do it in your head. It's called mental rehearsal. Basically, you just picture yourself in different situations.
Hold on. So you're saying by just imagining myself rocking these small talk moments, I'm actually getting better at it in real life?
You got it. Might sound a little strange, but neuroscientists have found that when you rehearse something mentally, your brain fires up the same way it does when you're actually doing the thing.
No way. That's so cool. It's like training your brain for social situations, like a cheat code for confidence. I'm already feeling less terrified about networking events or, just parties in general.
It's crazy, right? How powerful our brains are. Like, this script really shows you how to use that power to, level up your social skills.
I like that, level up. So we've talked about greetings, weather talk, even practicing in your head. What else does this script have up its sleeve?
Okay, so one thing that really impressed me was the questions. They go way beyond those typical boring questions like, where are you from? Or what do you do? The usual suspects.
Yeah, those can be so snooze fest sometimes.
Right. Instead, they give you all these questions that are actually interesting, designed to spark real conversations.
Okay, I'm all about those real conversations. Tell me more. Give me the good stuff.
So instead of asking, what do you do? Which can feel kind of like a job interview, they suggest asking, what do you like to do for fun?
I mean, that's a classic for a reason, right? It gets people talking about what they're actually passionate about.
Exactly. It's like you're inviting them to show you their real selves, not just their LinkedIn profile. And if you really want to go deeper, you could try something like, what's the most interesting thing you've done lately?
Ooh, I like that one. It's like a sneak peek into their adventures. You might even discover you have some cool stuff in common.
Totally. Plus, it shows you're actually curious about them, not just trying to fill the silence. And they even have specific questions for different situations. Like, if you're at a dinner party, you could ask, have you tried any good restaurants lately?
Perfect. Everyone loves talking about food. Instant conversation starter, right there.
It's true. It's something we can all relate to, like enjoying a good meal. Okay, so we've covered greetings, weather talk, asking interesting questions, even mental rehearsal. But what about when you're ready to, make your escape? Does the script help with that too?
Yeah, like how do you end a conversation without being rude?
Don't worry, they got you covered. They have a bunch of different closing phrases depending on the situation. From a simple, it was nice talking to you, to something more like, hey, we should grab coffee sometime.
Oh, I love that they include those follow-up suggestions.
Yeah.
Sometimes you really do click with someone, and it's good to have a way to, keep things going.
Exactly. It shows you're confident and interested, which is always a good look. And even if they can't meet up, it still leaves a good impression. They'll remember you as someone who actually wanted to connect.
Yeah, it's like planting a seed, right? You never know where those initial conversations might lead. What about those times when you just need a quick, casual exit, though, like you're running late or something?
No problem. They have those too. They suggest things like, catch you later or have a great day. Those are perfect for keeping it light and friendly without feeling like you have to, hang around forever.
Okay, so whether you're aiming for a lifelong friendship or just a quick chat, it sounds like this script has given us a whole toolbox for navigating the social world.
Yeah. It's like they took all the guesswork out of small talk and gave us a clear path to follow. It's pretty amazing.
And what's so cool is that this script, even though it's for people learning English, it actually shows us some really deep things about human connections, like a reminder that we all want to feel understood, even in those little everyday conversations.
So true. And I think that's what makes this deep dive so valuable. We're not just learning phrases, we're learning about what makes us human and how even a short conversation can make a difference, create a ripple effect.
It's like we're seeing the world through a whole new lens now, right?
Yeah.
And that brings us to the best part, putting it all into practice. We've talked about a lot today, the different phases of small talk, how to make a bid for connection, even practicing in your head. But now it's your turn, dear listener. Take these ideas and make them your own.
Yes. This is where the real transformation happens. We've given you the tools. Now it's up to you to use them. And remember, you don't have to be perfect. The goal isn't to become some kind of small talk robot.
Exactly. Be yourself, be genuine, and use these techniques to connect with people in a real way. So let's recap the top 3 things we've learned from this unexpected deep dive into, mastering small talk. First, small talk isn't just random. There's a structure you can follow to make those conversations flow.
Second, the words you use actually matter. This script has given us tons of phrases that are interesting, thoughtful, and perfect for different situations.
And third, practice, practice, practice. Whether you're practicing in your head or even role-playing with a friend, the more you do it, the more confident and natural you'll become.
It really is freeing, right? Yeah. Knowing you have these tools, it takes away that fear of messing up or saying the wrong thing.
For sure. It's like having this, secret weapon for social situations. And honestly, the biggest thing I'm taking away from this is small talk doesn't have to be something you dread. It can actually be fun, a way to connect with people,
100%. What about you? What's sticking with you from all this? What did you find most helpful from looking at this script?
It's funny. I think what resonated most was realizing that everyone, even people who seem super outgoing, they've probably felt that awkwardness too. This script shows that small talk is a skill, like something you can learn and get better at, just like anything else.
Right. It's not like some people are born knowing how to do it and others aren't.
Exactly. It takes so much pressure off. You can just approach those conversations with curiosity, like a little game. Just see what happens.
I love that. A little game. It really can be like an adventure,
Yeah.
discovering something new about someone, even if it's just a tiny thing.
And it reminds you that even those small moments, a quick chat, a smile, they can all make a difference. It's like we're all connected in this big web, and every conversation adds to that, you know?
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive into, well, the surprisingly interesting world of small talk, I want to leave you with this. Think about the next time you are in a situation where you know there's going to be some small talk. Maybe it's a party or a work event, even just grabbing coffee. What are you most excited to try out from all the stuff we talked about?
Such a good question.
Yeah.
And hey, remember, it doesn't have to be perfect, okay? Just be yourself, be genuine, and see what happens. You might be surprised how fun and even meaningful those small conversations can be. So go out there and conquer the world of small talk. We believe in you.
Welcome to this deep dive, everyone. Today we're going to be exploring, well, actually, your English learning journey using a script for a video for English language learners. It's going to be like a deep dive within a deep dive, really. So no matter where you're at, beginner, advanced, somewhere in between, there should be something here for you.
Yeah, I think it's so cool how this script uses like real stories from other people learning English, you know, to like inspire. It's like we're all on this journey together, you know?
Totally. And speaking of journeys, the script like starts off by asking this big question, right? What made you want to learn English in the first place? The why behind your adventure, basically. They give this example of a learner, Anna, and her goal was she just wanted to watch TV, like without subtitles. And what I thought was so cool about that was like, it was totally, you know, coming from her, like she just wanted to do it, not because someone told her she had to or anything.
Right.
Like those are the best reasons, you know,
Right.
when it comes from inside.
Yeah, for sure. Knowing your why can really make a difference, I think, especially when things get tough, you know? When you hit a wall or you just don't feel like studying, it's like having a compass to keep you, you know, heading in the right direction.
I love that, the compass. So I'm curious, what was your why, you know, when you started out? Take a second to think about that. It's worth, you know, revisiting it as you keep going too. Now, the script also digs into how, like, where you are can affect your learning. It gets that not everyone can be like surrounded by English speakers all the time, but it kind of challenges us to get creative.
Yeah, yeah. This story about Raj really stuck with me. He lives in this village where literally no one speaks English. And so he basically turned his whole house into this like learning tool, you know, sticky notes everywhere using English for like everyday stuff. It just proves you don't have to be in some English speaking country to learn it well.
It's amazing, right? Talk about resourcefulness. He didn't wait for the perfect situation. He just made it himself. And this actually leads perfectly into what the script talks about next. How to, you know, take all that time we waste and turn it into learning time.
Oh yeah, like when you're scrolling on your phone or whatever and it's not even like fun anymore.
Exactly. But imagine if you could use that time to learn instead. The script mentions Maria, and she would spend like 30 minutes every night on, I think it was TikTok, and she swapped that for English learning videos, and guess what? In just a couple of weeks, her vocabulary like exploded.
Wow.
See? Totally doable. And what's even cooler is you can do this throughout your day, right? Like when you're commuting, waiting in line, even just doing chores. You can listen to podcasts, use apps, just sneak in little bits of English here and there.
Yeah, yeah. Just make it a part of your life, you know?
Yeah.
The more you can do that, the more natural it all feels.
Exactly. The script then kind of switches gears and talks about common mistakes that can, you know, slow you down. And this is where I think your expertise is going to be so helpful. One of the first things it mentions is like getting too hung up on grammar, you know, to the point where you're not even really speaking. It's easy to just memorize all the rules, but language is really about talking to people, right?
Absolutely. Grammar's important, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. But sometimes I think it gets too much focus, you know? Like, it's more important to be able to speak fluently and confidently, even if you mess up a little. It's about finding that balance, I think. What do you think?
Oh, 100%. I totally agree with that. You could know all the grammar in the world, but if you can't have a conversation, what's the point, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's like you learn how to play an instrument, but then you never actually play any music.
Exactly. You just practice scales all day long. Okay, so the script's next point, I think this is something we've all dealt with, being scared to make mistakes. I mean, every language learner goes through that, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. But I think it's so important to like change how we think about mistakes. They're not like failures. They're actually like feedback.
Yeah.
Each mistake is a chance to learn and get better.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. It takes the pressure off, And this kind of leads into the third mistake they talk about in the script, which is not practicing regularly. We've all been there, right? Like crazy study sessions and then nothing for weeks.
Yeah, I've totally been there. It's always better to do a little bit every day than a lot all at once.
Yeah.
It's like you wouldn't go to the gym once a month for 8 hours and expect to see results. You got to be consistent.
So true. Short, consistent workouts, that's the key. Like the script mentions this learner who went from like these huge study sessions every now and then to just doing 30 minutes a day every day. And they saw way more progress.
It's amazing, right? How much difference just a little bit each day can make.
Yeah.
Our brains, they actually learn better that way too, through repetition and like slow exposure, not cramming.
So instead of trying to do it all at once, just find little ways to fit English into your day, right?
Exactly.
Okay, let's switch gears a little bit and look at what the script says about, learning English if you don't live in an English-speaking country.
Yeah.
Which can feel like a huge obstacle, but the script has some pretty encouraging examples.
Yeah, I was really interested in that part.
It comes back to what we were saying before about creating that immersive environment, even without actually being around English speakers. And technology can really help with this, right?
Oh, totally.
Like apps for language exchange, online forums, even streaming services with subtitles.
There's so much out there.
Right. Like in the script, they talk about Marco from Spain, and he basically made like his own little English world at home, reading news in English, watching English YouTubers, even talking to friends online from other countries.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's like bringing the English-speaking world to you.
You don't even have to get on a plane.
Exactly. Which leads perfectly into the script's like final challenge, focus on output.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just understand English. You got to use it, by speaking or writing.
Yeah, that's where the real learning happens, I think. Getting out there and actually using the language. I know it can be scary at first, but the more you do it, the easier it gets.
The script suggests a few things you can try, like recording yourself speaking and then listening back to see what you can improve.
Well, that's a good one.
Or joining a speaking group, or even just writing like a short paragraph in English every day.
I like that.
Just little things to get you practicing,
The key is to find what works for you and then make it a habit. It doesn't have to be a big thing. Even 5 minutes a day can make a difference in the long run.
And as we start wrapping up this deep dive here, I think one of the most important things to remember is learning English, it's a journey, right? And every little thing you do, it brings you closer to your goals.
That's a great way to put it.
It's not about being perfect. It's about making progress. I mean, we've talked about so much, right? Like from that whole why thing to making your own little English world. But what really sticks out to me is how much the script is all about, like, doing stuff.
Oh, yeah, totally. You can't just sit there and like, hope you'll learn English.
Right. You got to get out there and use it. And remember how we talked about making mistakes? The script wants us to think about those differently, too.
Yeah, they're not like the end of the world.
They're actually how you get better.
Like little stepping stones.
I love that. So as we wrap up this whole deep dive into learning English, I have one question for you. And it kind of goes back to that output thing we were talking about. What's one small step you're going to take this week to actually use your English?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Could be anything, really. Record yourself talking for a minute, write an email in English, even just chat with someone online.
It doesn't have to be this big, huge thing.
Exactly. Just something small but consistent.
Like we were saying before, 5 minutes a day, it all adds up.
We've explored a ton of tips today and heard some pretty inspiring stories. I bet there are a few that really resonated with you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So think about those and how you can use them in your own learning. And remember, learning English, it should be fun, not a chore.
Totally. It's an adventure.
Embrace those challenges, celebrate how far you've come and never stop exploring. Happy learning, everyone. Okay, so ready to dive into something kind of interesting.
Always.
All right, so this masterclass script we found claims it can get you to advanced English fluency.
Oh, wow.
In just 1 hour.
Okay.
Pretty bold claim, right?
Yeah, an hour to fluency.
Yeah, so we're going to break it down, see if it lives up to the hype.
That's good.
Maybe you're someone who's prepping for a presentation or just brushing up on your English skills. Or maybe you're just curious about language learning hacks. Whatever your reason, we're going to dig into this script, see what it offers.
Unearth those nuggets.
Exactly. Unearth the nuggets, see what it really has to offer.
Yeah.
And what I thought was interesting is right away, it kind of skips the usual grammar drills and vocab lists.
Right.
It jumps right into like the practical stuff, how to sound more confident, how to adapt to different situations, really just connect with your language.
I like that. That's a good approach.
Yeah, I thought so too.
It's very practical.
Yeah, and one of the first things it encourages you to do is use contractions naturally.
Okay.
You know, like saying, I've done it differently instead of, I would have done it differently.
Yeah.
Simple, but it makes your speech flow better, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, it does.
And that leads right into this idea of connected speech.
Right.
You know, the script points out how native speakers often link words together.
Right.
So, for example, what do you want to do becomes what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
It might feel a little awkward at first,
Yeah.
but it's a key to sounding more natural.
Yeah, I agree.
So I can see how that would take some getting used to, especially if you've been trained to pronounce each word carefully.
Absolutely.
But I can also see how it would make you sound more like a native speaker.
For sure.
Now, the script also doesn't shy away from some challenging vocabulary either.
Oh, okay.
So there are words like ephemeral, resilient, ambivalent, even ostentatious and serendipitous.
Wow.
Do you think they chose those words for a specific reason or just trying to impress people?
Well, I think it's a mix of both
Okay.
because, expanding your vocabulary is important,
Right.
but they are carefully chosen to be kind of memorable
Yeah.
and impactful. Like they use ephemeral to describe a sunset.
Oh, right.
It kind of helps you grab the meaning of the word,
Yeah,
but then also appreciate the nuances of it.
that's a good point.
Yeah,
It's not just about sounding smart. It's about using the right words to express yourself clearly.
exactly.
And speaking of colorful language, they've also included some idioms in this.
Okay.
Things like burning the midnight oil, bite the bullet on the same wavelength.
Right.
Are those common idioms that someone might encounter in everyday conversation?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Idioms can be tricky because their meaning isn't always clear,
Right.
but they add so much personality
Yeah.
and cultural flavor to your English.
Like on the same wavelength is a good way to describe clicking with someone.
Right, when you're just like, we get each other.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that one too. You could easily use that in conversation, whether you're networking or just hanging out with friends.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to something the script emphasizes quite a bit, pronunciation.
Right.
It's not just about saying the words correctly.
Right.
It's about intonation,
Yes.
stress, and rhythm.
That's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
They even point out how just changing the stress on a word can change the meaning entirely.
Yeah, like photograph versus photography.
Exactly.
Yeah, simple shift, but a world of difference.
A big difference.
It's amazing how much nuance there is to pronunciation.
For sure.
And the script actually encourages you to play around with it.
Oh.
They suggest you practice different sentences with rising and falling tones
Oh, interesting.
to see how it changes the meaning
Yeah.
of what you're saying.
I like that. So pronunciation is definitely a key element of sounding more fluent.
It is, for sure.
But the script doesn't just give you these tips and leave you to figure it out on your own.
Right.
They actually try to tie it all together in a real-world scenario,
Oh,
a networking event.
interesting. Okay.
And it's not just a generic script about exchanging business cards or whatever.
Right.
They've woven in those elements of fluency that we've been talking about. So they suggest starting with a confident introduction, but then using a more engaging question to spark a real conversation.
Ooh, I like that.
Something like, what inspired you to get into your field?
That's a good question.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, it's open-ended, shows genuine interest,
Right.
and it avoids those typical small talk cliches.
Exactly.
So-
I like that question too. And they encourage you to build on that initial connection. Instead of just nodding and saying, that's interesting,
Right.
they suggest transitioning smoothly with a comment or a question that shows you're actively listening.
Yeah.
Something like, that's fascinating. Have you considered expanding into other markets?
Oh, nice.
What do you think?
Yeah, I like that. It shows you're engaged, you're thoughtful. Yeah.
So this networking scenario is where they try to bring all the pieces together.
Okay.
It's where you can put those fluency techniques into practice.
Right.
But the big question remains,
What's it?
can you really achieve all of this in just 1 hour?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm a little skeptical about achieving complete fluency in such a short time,
Okay.
but the script does a good job of highlighting the most important areas to focus on. I think it gives you a taste of what's possible, and that's a valuable starting point.
So maybe it's more about giving you a framework, a set of tools and techniques that can help you continue to develop your fluency. It's like a jumpstart, not a complete overhaul. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it succeeds in that.
Okay.
The script is packed with practical tips and exercises.
Yeah.
And even if it takes you more than an hour to master everything, you can start implementing some of these strategies right away.
So it's not about instant fluency, but about gaining valuable insights and building a solid foundation.
Exactly.
And speaking of building a foundation, I'm curious what the script says about practice and immersion.
Yeah.
After all, even the best techniques won't get you very far without consistent effort.
You're absolutely right. Fluency is a journey, not a destination. You've got to immerse yourself in the language as much as possible. Speak fearlessly. Constantly reflect and refine your skills.
So it's not just about completing the masterclass. It's about integrating these techniques into your daily life.
Exactly.
Making English a part of your routine.
That's the key.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
We have.
But there's much more to unpack.
Lots more.
So stay tuned for part 2, where we'll explore even more tips and strategies for achieving advanced English fluency.
Looking forward to it. Welcome back. So last time, we were talking about how this script emphasizes practical skills over rote memorization.
Right.
We touched on connected speech, vocabulary building, even using idioms effectively.
Yeah.
But we left off on a bit of a cliffhanger.
Oh, yeah, pronunciation.
Yeah, that whole pronunciation piece.
The script suddenly turned into a vocal coach.
Right.
Yeah, urging you to pay attention to things like intonation, stress, and rhythm.
Exactly.
So I'm ready to dive deeper into those pronunciation secrets. Where do we start?
Well, we already touched on how word stress can completely change a word's meaning.
Right, like with photograph versus photography.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the script takes it a step further. It highlights sentence stress as well.
Oh, okay.
It shows you how emphasizing different words within a sentence can dramatically alter its meaning.
Okay, do you have an example?
Of course. So they use the phrase, I didn't say H.E. stole the money.
Okay.
Now imagine stressing each word in turn.
Right.
You could be accusing different people.
Oh, wow.
Or even denying the accusation entirely just by shifting the emphasis.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Like it adds a whole other layer of meaning.
Right.
Yeah, beyond the words themselves.
Exactly.
And then there's intonation, the rising and falling tones of our voice.
Yes.
So the script suggests practicing with simple phrases like, I can't believe it. With a rising tone, that's amazing. With a falling tone.
Yeah.
Do those small changes really make that much of a difference?
Absolutely. Think of it like adding punctuation to your spoken words.
Oh, okay.
A rising tone at the end of a sentence can turn a statement into a question.
Right.
While a falling tone can express certainty, finality.
Okay.
It's crucial for conveying your meaning and sounding more natural.
So it's like adding emotion and emphasis to your words.
Excellent.
Is this something that people often struggle with when learning English?
It can be.
Okay.
Especially for learners whose native languages have different intonation patterns.
Right.
But the good news is it's something you can improve with practice.
Okay, good.
The script even suggests recording yourself speaking.
Oh, wow.
And listening back.
I know. It can be cringy.
It can be, but it's a great way to identify areas where your intonation might need a little work.
Yeah, for sure. I can see how that'd be helpful.
Yeah.
Even if it's a little embarrassing at first.
That's a good tool.
So are there any other techniques that the script recommends for improving pronunciation?
Well, they suggest some interesting exercises.
Okay.
Like repeating phrases while exaggerating the intonation and stress patterns.
So just really going over the top with it.
Yeah, it might feel silly, but it helps to really internalize the rhythm and flow of the language.
I'm all for silly if it works.
Me too.
Like a workout for your voice.
Exactly. Another technique is called shadowing, where you listen to a native speaker and try to mimic their pronunciation and intonation.
Oh, interesting.
You can use podcasts, audiobooks, even movie scenes.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Like having a personal pronunciation coach right in your ear.
Exactly. Plus, it's a fun way to immerse yourself in the language.
And speaking of immersion, the script emphasizes that a lot.
Right.
It encourages you to surround yourself with English as much as possible.
Yes. Watch movies, listen to music, read books, chat with native speakers if you can.
Yeah.
The key is to make English a part of your daily life.
Not just something you study in a textbook.
Exactly.
You know, it's interesting they bring up immersion.
Yeah.
Because earlier when we were discussing those advanced vocabulary words, I was thinking, how often is someone really going to use a word like ostentatious in casual conversation?
Right.
But if you're immersing yourself in the language, you're bound to come across it in different contexts.
Exactly. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Immersion helps you absorb those nuances of the language in a way that just memorizing definitions can't.
Right.
You start to understand how words are used in different situations.
Yeah.
You develop a more natural feel for the language.
So immersion isn't just about practicing speaking.
Right.
It's about absorbing the language through listening, reading, and watching.
Yes, making it a part of your overall experience.
Okay, let's shift gears for a moment and revisit that networking scenario.
Right.
I'm curious to hear more about how they incorporate all these fluency techniques into that real-world situation.
Sure. So you remember that the scenario starts with a confident introduction,
Right.
but then they encourage you to move beyond the typical small talk.
Mm-hmm.
Ask a more engaging question.
Like, what inspired you to get into your field?
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that question.
It's a great way to show genuine interest
Right.
and start a more meaningful conversation.
What else do they recommend?
They suggest transitioning smoothly to related topics. Showing that you're actively listening and adding to the conversation. You might say something like, "That's fascinating. Have you considered expanding into other markets?"
Okay, yeah.
Keeps the conversation flowing, and it allows you to showcase your knowledge and insights
Right.
without being too pushy.
It's all about finding that balance
Yeah,
between being confident and being engaging.
for sure.
Not an easy feat.
No, it's not.
But this scenario seems to provide a pretty solid framework
It does.
for navigating those tricky social interactions.
Exactly.
Okay, so they've covered introductions, engaging questions, smooth transitions, even closing the conversation gracefully.
Right.
But can you really master all that in an hour?
Well, like we said earlier, fluency is a journey,
Right?
not a destination.
Yeah.
So while an hour might not be enough to make you a master networker,
Okay.
this scenario provides a valuable blueprint.
Right.
And you can adapt these techniques to other social situations as well.
So it's about taking those core principles, confidence, clarity, adaptability,
Yes.
and applying them to any interaction where
Yeah.
you want to communicate effectively in English.
Exactly.
And that brings us to the final section of the masterclass script.
Okay.
Remember those 3 key tips they emphasized?
Immerse yourself.
Dig fearlessly.
Reflect and refine.
Right. This seemed like pretty solid pieces of advice,
Yeah.
but what do they really mean by immerse yourself?
Right.
Are they talking about moving to an English-speaking country?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
While that would certainly be immersive,
Right.
there are plenty of ways to create an English-speaking environment wherever you are.
Okay.
You can watch movies and TV shows with English subtitles, listen to podcasts and audiobooks,
Right.
read news articles and blogs.
Okay.
Key is to find something you enjoy and make it a regular part of your routine.
So it's about making English a part of your everyday life,
Exactly.
not just something you study in isolation. Okay, what about that second tip? Speak fearlessly. That's easier said than done for a lot of people.
It is, yeah.
Any advice for overcoming that fear?
Well, the script encourages you to kind of reframe your thinking about mistakes.
Okay.
Instead of seeing them as failures, view them as opportunities to learn and grow.
It's about embracing the journey
Exactly.
and accepting that you're not going to be perfect right from the start.
Exactly. The more you speak, the more comfortable and confident you'll become.
Right.
Don't be afraid to seek out opportunities to practice,
Okay.
whether it's with a language partner, online communities, or even just talking to yourself in English.
Those are great suggestions.
Yeah.
Now, what about that last tip? Reflect and refine. What are some concrete ways that someone can put that into practice?
Self-awareness is key here.
Okay.
Record yourself speaking English, listen back to it.
Right.
Take note of areas where you could improve. Maybe it's pronunciation, maybe it's grammar, maybe it's the flow of your sentences.
Right. Yeah.
The act of listening to yourself critically can be incredibly revealing.
For sure. And these days, there are so many tools to help you do that.
There are.
Like language learning apps often have recording features. And you can even find online communities that are dedicated to pronunciation practice.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of simply paying attention to how native speakers use the language.
Oh, okay.
Listen for those subtle nuances of pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm.
Right.
The more you observe and imitate, the more natural your English will become.
So it's about being a conscious learner,
Yes,
actively seeking out feedback and working on those areas where you want to improve.
exactly.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive.
We have.
We explored pronunciation techniques, the importance of immersion. We even revisited that networking scenario,
We did.
and we dug into those 3 key tips for continued learning.
Yes.
Immerse yourself, speak fearlessly, reflect and refine. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into this masterclass, the one that promises to unlock advanced English fluency in just an hour.
Yeah, big promises.
Huge. So we've unpacked a lot of those strategies.
Really?
We've experimented with pronunciation, even explored that networking scenario.
Yep.
Now let's step back, consider,
All right.
what are the real takeaways
Yeah,
here?
what are the gems?
What can someone actually use to boost their English fluency?
Good question.
So it's been quite a journey, right?
It really has, yeah.
We've gone from those kind of building blocks of fluency, confidence, clarity, adaptability,
Right.
to some very specific techniques
Yeah.
like connected speech, mastering intonation, even sprinkling in some of those colorful idioms.
For sure.
I think we even played vocal coach for a while,
We did.
trying out some of those pronunciation exercises.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was fun. So as we wrap up, what stands out to you as the most valuable takeaway from this whole thing?
For me, it's the focus on practical application.
Okay.
This script doesn't just like throw a bunch of rules at you.
Right?
It gives you concrete examples, it encourages you to experiment, and it even puts you in a real-world situation.
Yeah, like with that networking event.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about taking those concepts and making them usable in your daily life.
Yeah, it's not about reaching some level of perfection.
Right.
It's about using the language to connect with others, to express yourself,
Yeah,
to navigate the world around you.
for sure.
And it reminds you that fluency is an ongoing journey.
It is.
It's not a destination.
Not at all.
You know, early on, I was pretty skeptical about that whole fluency in an hour thing.
Yeah, me too.
But I have to admit, this masterclass offers a pretty solid springboard for anyone who wants to improve their English.
Absolutely.
It gives you a taste of what's possible
Yeah.
and inspires you to actually take action.
For sure.
So for our listener who's been with us this whole time, taking it all in,
Hmm?
what's the one piece of advice you would leave them with?
I would say don't wait for perfection.
Okay.
Just start speaking.
Right.
Embrace every opportunity to practice.
Yeah.
Even if it feels a bit awkward at first, every mistake is a learning opportunity.
That's true.
Each interaction brings you closer to fluency.
I love that. It's about taking those small steps,
Yeah.
being consistent, and celebrating those wins along the way.
Exactly.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey.
Not at all.
There are tons of resources out there, language learning apps, online communities, podcasts like ours,
For sure.
all there to support you.
Absolutely.
So find what works best for you. Stay curious.
Yeah.
Never stop exploring the language
I like that.
and have fun with it.
Yes.
Learning a language shouldn't feel like a chore.
No, it should be enjoyable.
It should be enriching.
Absolutely.
So embrace the challenges, celebrate your successes, and never stop trying to be the most confident and fluent version of yourself. That's a perfect note to end on. So thanks for joining us for this deep dive into English fluency.
It's been fun.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights.
Yeah.
And feel inspired to continue your own journey.
Absolutely. And now that you've heard all this, what's one area of your English fluency that you're going to focus on? Until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, and keep those language fires burning.
See you next time.
All right, so are you ready to dive in? Today, we're going to help you sound like, well, a natural English speaker.
Like you were born speaking it, right?
Exactly. And we're going to do that with a script.
Oh, a script. For what?
It's for a video for English language learners.
Cool. What's the topic?
Phrasal verbs.
Ah, phrasal verbs. Those can be tricky.
Yeah, they can be, but this script, it breaks them down by learner level.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's helpful. So we can...
Yeah, so we'll sort of jump around, find the most interesting parts no matter what your level is.
Yeah, let's uncover the secrets of sounding natural and fluent.
Exactly. So I was looking at the beginner section, and it's funny how many,
Beginner section. Okay.
yeah, so, basic phrasal verbs. And some of them are so common we don't even think about them.
Like what?
Like get up. I mean, we all do it every morning.
It's true. We do. Or go to sleep. These are things we do every day.
Right. And even something like sit down. It's not just about taking a seat. It's like an invitation.
Yeah, it sets the scene. Like sit down, dinner's ready. Or please Sit down, make yourself comfortable.
Exactly. It adds a whole other layer of meaning.
And it's so natural.
And, another one that I thought was interesting is turn on and turn off.
Oh, yeah, we use those all the time.
Like turn on the lights, turn off the oven.
It's like we're constantly interacting with our world through these verbs.
And they often come in pairs, right?
Ooh.
With opposite meanings.
Learn one. You got the other one too?
Yeah. And another pair, put on and take off.
Oh, yeah. Clothes, shoes, you name it.
Exactly. You put on your clothes in the morning, take them off at night.
And again, it's so natural, so effortless.
It is. It's like a hidden code.
A code to unlock fluency.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, what about pick up? That one's interesting because you can have multiple meanings.
Yeah, you can pick up a book, pick up your friend from the airport.
Right. The context is key.
It tells you what it means.
It's like a puzzle, but a fun one.
It is. Okay, another fun one. Look for. Everyone's always looking for something.
Right. Your keys, your phone, that missing sock.
Have you seen my keys? I've been looking for them everywhere.
Exactly. And, it's not just about physical objects.
You can look for a solution to a problem, look for information.
You're right. It's about a search, a quest.
And we're always on a quest for something, aren't we?
That's a great point. Okay, so we've talked about some pretty basic phrasal verbs.
Yeah, just the tip of the iceberg.
But now I want to get into some that add a bit more color.
Oh, yeah, let's spice things up a bit.
Let's express some feelings, some opinions.
Let's dive deeper.
I'm ready. Are you?
Let's go! It's amazing, right, how phrasal verbs can be so simple, but also so expressive.
Yeah, it's like they add this whole other level of meaning.
Exactly. Like give up, for example.
Oh, yeah, give up. We've all been there.
Right. That feeling of, I can't do this anymore.
Like when I tried to make that, that 3-tiered cake for my friend's birthday, I almost gave up.
Oh, no. What happened?
The first layer, it just collapsed.
Oh, that's frustrating.
It was. I wanted to throw in the towel, but he didn't.
Well, good for you, perseverance. But you see, that's what give up captures, that feeling.
It does. Okay, what about run out of? That seems pretty basic.
It does, but it's not just about having nothing left. It's like there's a sense of urgency.
Urgency. How so?
Like running out of time on a deadline.
Oh, yeah, or running out of patience.
Exactly. Or even running out of gas in your car.
That's a good one. Okay, what about call off? Is that the same as cancel?
Well, they're similar, but call off is more sudden, more unexpected.
Oh, I see. Like calling off a wedding.
Exactly. Or calling off a search.
Wow. That does add a sense of drama.
It does. It's like everything's changing.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. What about look after? That seems pretty simple.
It does, but it's more than just watching something. It's about taking care of it,
Oh, like looking after a child or a pet.
Yeah, or even a plant. You're responsible for it.
You're right. There's a sense of responsibility there.
Yeah.
Okay, now this one I find interesting. Find out.
Find out. It's like discovering something new.
It is. Like a secret.
Exactly. You can find out the truth, find out someone's secret.
Or find out how a story ends.
Right. It's all about that moment of revelation.
It is. Okay, and speaking of moments, what about work out? Now that one has multiple meanings.
It does. You can work out at the gym.
Right. Get those muscles working.
Or you can work out a problem.
Find a solution.
Exactly. So versatile, right?
It is. Okay, how about throwaway? It seems pretty straightforward.
It does, but think about it. It's not just about getting rid of something.
What else could it be?
It can be about letting go, like throwing away old ideas, old habits.
Wow, I never thought of it that way.
It's like a fresh start.
I like that. Okay, last one for this round. Catch up. Now that one sounds pretty social.
It is. It's about connecting with people,
Yeah, like catching up with friends.
Exactly. Or catching up on work if you've been away.
Oh, right. So it can be social or professional.
It can. It's about bridging that gap, whatever it may be.
I like that. Okay, so we've covered some pretty interesting phrasal verbs so far.
We have, and we're just getting started.
I know. Are you ready for the advanced level?
Bring it on. I want to see what other gems we can uncover.
Okay, let's dive in. Okay, so we're back and ready to tackle some advanced phrasal verbs.
The big leagues.
I know, right? But honestly, looking at some of these, I'm a little intimidated.
Oh, which one's got you stumped?
Well, like put up with, for example. It just seems so negative.
It can be, yeah. But sometimes you need to express that feeling, like tolerating something.
Okay, I see what you mean, like putting up with noisy neighbors or something.
Exactly. Or a long commute, or even bad weather. It's about dealing with those less than ideal situations.
Okay, that makes sense. What about bring up? That one seems a bit more I don't know, delicate.
It is. It's about introducing a topic, but in a smooth way.
So not just blurting something out.
Right. Like if you want to talk about something sensitive, you bring it up carefully.
Right. I get it. Okay, now this one I always struggle with. Back out. Does it always make you sound unreliable?
Not necessarily. It can mean changing your mind, but it doesn't always have to be negative.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, imagine you agreed to go to a party, but then you get sick. You have to back out.
Oh, right. So it's not like you're breaking a promise. It's just a change of plans.
Exactly. It's all about the context.
Context is key.
Yeah.
Okay, what about step up? That one sounds more positive.
It is. It's about taking action, taking responsibility.
Like stepping up to a challenge.
Exactly. Or stepping up to help someone.
Oh, I like that. Okay, take over. Now that one sounds a bit intense.
It can be. It's about taking control of something.
I'm just taking over a company.
Yeah, or even something smaller, like taking over the cooking when your friend's tired.
Right. It's about being in charge. Okay, last one. Break down. That one seems like it has a million meanings.
It does. A car can break down, a plan can break down, even a person can break down.
Wow, so many possibilities. It's amazing how one phrasal verb can be so versatile.
It is, and that's the beauty of phrasal verbs. They add so much color and nuance to the language.
I totally agree. Well, I think we've broken down quite a few phrasal verbs today.
We have, and hopefully our listeners feel more confident using them.
Exactly. Remember, it's all about practice and having fun with the language.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how you learn.
That's right. So, to all our listeners out there, keep exploring the world of phrasal verbs. And who knows, maybe you'll even discover some new favorites along the way.
And if you do, be sure to share them with us. We'd love to hear about your phrasal verb adventures.
Until next time, happy learning.